This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Another day, another series of intense storms moving through our region. Let's go now to meteorologist John Sauter. John, what's happened today?
Well, you know, Janet, we've had all that rain a couple of times this week, actually, but today this was spotted just about an hour ago south of the city near LaSalle. And this is a funnel cloud. There is no funnel cloud advisory in effect right now or tornado watch. There's no confirmed touchdown here, but that was spotted just a short time ago. So that's the kind of weather we have in our area right now. What we had last night was quite interesting as well. This is a radar and lightning replay. And I started at about 11 o'clock last night, and you can see things building in the inner lake, and we knew that it was going to be one of those rainy overnight periods. But right around 3 or 4 in the morning, that's when it hit Winnipeg and then moved off to the southeast, taking all of that rain and lightning with it. And then through the day today, it's just been going around and around in northwestern Ontario. Here are some of the amounts just in the Winnipeg area. My friend in Island Lakes said 66.5. So southeast Winnipeg was anywhere from 40 to 70. And you can see the numbers across the south out in Charleswood, Winnipeg West, 28 to 38. That would include the airport, and 45 in the Kildonans. And then outside the city, there was plenty of rain as well. Pinawa over 59, St. Adolphe 35, LaSalle 44, and Dugald almost 51, 55 in Steinbach, where today the golf course was closed, questionable for tomorrow. Now you look at the rain we've had through this year. It has been really, really soggy. So we're on track for a record annual precipitation total in the Winnipeg area. The current record is 723 millimeters in 1962. That's 60 years ago. So far this year, we're at 620 to 629. With no additional raindrops or snowflakes between now and January 1st, we are already the 8th wettest on record. That's in 150 years. I'll show you the radar in just a few minutes.
Thank you so much, John.
You bet.
Winnipeg's mayoral wannabes focused on two things today: transit safety and downtown development. The CBC's Sam Sampson's covering the campaign for us and brings us more.
Robert Falcon-Ouellette does not want you to pave paradise and put up a parking lot. Not even close. The mayoral candidate wants to replace surface parking lots downtown with developments. To do that, he wants to tax surface parking lot owners as if a 4-story commercial building stood there, making them pay much more than they are right now. The idea, Ouellette says, is to make development more financially viable and bring in more revenue.
These lots sit stagnant and underdeveloped for years, costing the city much needed tax revenue while creating economic dead zones. Dead zones for people and dead zones for our economy.
But this is easier said than done. It's not allowed under the City of Winnipeg Charter Act. That piece of provincial law states Ouellette's idea is illegal. According to that legislation, the City of Winnipeg can only tax property owners for what is there, not what could be there. If he could somehow change the city's charter, Ouellette says this tax plan would be phased in through his first term. Meanwhile, another mayoral candidate is focused on bus driver safety. Glenn Murray has 10 points to make transit safer, led by the transit union that has already endorsed him. That includes replacing what the union calls an unreliable radio system, and he wants drivers to call 911 directly instead of using an emergency button that connects them to the transit control center.
Given that we have a radio system that is unreliable, it seems essential for the life safety of transit operators as well as passengers that transit operators should be allowed to call 911. Most of them would quickly have it on their speed dialer if they were allowed.
City staff say drivers can call 911 in an emergency if they're away from the radio system at the time. Plus, they say they have approved funding to replace the radio systems.
Murray also wants to involve police in transit somehow, perhaps officers on buses or other safety measures. He also wants to bring in fully enclosed shields for drivers. Now, Murray couldn't say how much these changes would cost or where the money would come from. He promised a financial plan later in his campaign, but says he needs to do a bit more research first. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Some Manitobans struggling with rising costs got good news today. The province promised to help those earning the lowest wages. The CBC's Andrew Wilds has the latest.
As we implement our plan to get to a $15 minimum wage by October 1st of 2023.
A major increase to Manitoba's minimum wage, lifting the province from the lowest in the country. By October, it will rise to $13.50. Then in April of next year, another increase, bringing it to $14.15 per hour. By October 2023, it will be at about $15.
Actually, it could be more than $15. Right now, it's a fairly, I would say it's a fairly conservative estimate at 6%. I mean, we know that it's on the rise. It is, I will say it is our intent to get to the $15 minimum wage.
Thousands of Manitobans earn minimum wage. The wage increase will add around $3,000 each year to their income. Josh Brandon of the Social Planning Council says that's not a living wage.
That $3,000, it's not going as far as it used to, and it'll get quickly eaten up by increases in the cost of living. It is a positive step that the government is looking at increasing the minimum wage, but it needs to be increased much further.
The province says they're trying to attract and keep workers in Manitoba, but Brandon says more is needed.
We're going to see workers leaving for other provinces where they can't afford to make ends meet. And it's going to hurt all Manitobans unless we pay competitive living wages.
The Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce says they understand why the hike is needed, but businesses will feel the pinch.
It's a 25% increase. So for every Manitoban that's wondering, well, it's only $1.50 or it's only going up that much, it's 25%.
Remlard says the province also needs to help small businesses be competitive. The government says it will be in touch with those industries affected, and no suggestion is off the table. Andrew Wiles, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Here are the latest COVID-19 numbers from the province's weekly report. From August 7th to 13th, another 14 Manitobans died due to the disease. That's 2 more than died the previous week. 79 people were admitted to hospital with COVID-19 that week, a jump from 57 the week before. 19 people with COVID, one of them a child under age 10, were admitted to ICU. That's up from 12 ICU admissions the week before. COVID-19 is still a relatively new disease. It may have impacts we don't yet understand. One new study by Oxford University raises concerns, noting brain fog and other mental health issues are more common among patients who've had COVID-19 than with patients who've had other respiratory infections. CBC's Abby Kuthadasan spoke with authors of the study.
An Oxford University study looked at 2 groups in the United States. Each group was made up of more than 1 million patients. One included people who had recovered from COVID more than 2 years ago. The second group was made up of people who had other respiratory infections. The researchers found that those who'd been infected with COVID were 10 to 15% more likely to be at risk for long-term conditions. Seniors had a higher chance of dementia. Adults 64 and under were more likely to face brain fog. And for children, the risk of developing epilepsy doubled, though it was still rare, 160 in 10,000 cases.
The good news for children and adolescents is that they are not at an increased risk of mood and anxiety disorders at any point after the COVID-19 illness. So this is something that seems to be specific to adults, but does not happen in children. And that's very reassuring indeed. Another very reassuring news is that children did not appear to be at an increased risk of brain fog.
Variants were looked at too. The lead researcher, Paul Harrison, says Omicron was less severe than the Delta strain, but there was no difference between them when it came to longer-term disorders. He also spoke about his previous study that addressed vaccinations. He says they save lives, but survivors are no more immune to long-term conditions.
So although the vaccinations were very effective at stopping you getting COVID in the first place, if you're unlucky enough to get a breakthrough infection, it didn't really affect the things we're measuring in this paper.
The researchers acknowledge more studies are needed, especially in other countries, to better understand the long-term effects of COVID-19. Abby Kuthadasan, CBC News, London.
Ukrainians fleeing the war say they face a big barrier when trying to start a new life here in Canada. the lack of childcare. Some families only have pricey daycare options and others can't find childcare at all. As CBC's Karen Pauls shows us, it's left their fresh starts stalled.
Elena Horchak and her family are settling into their new home in Dauphin, Manitoba. One of 11 families sponsored by the local Ukrainian community.
We are really happy that we have met people here who are helping us. And it's really precious, you know.
Horchak is looking for a job in restaurant management or IT, but she can't work days because she doesn't have childcare.
I'm looking for a job just for evening shifts, just to be with kids at the daytime.
This Dauphin businessman says every single newcomer could be working, but there aren't enough daycare spots.
We don't have many in licensed daycares. Most of them are actually in unlicensed, and they're basically people that have stepped up and said, okay, I've done this before, I'm kind of retired, but I'm going to do it again.
It's a problem across the country.
After all this stress they went through, they just need to feel secure and safe.
Alexandra Zovchuk and her family chose to move to Quebec for one reason. It's subsidized daycare, but her children are not eligible.
We're not just regular immigrants, and we're not refugees here. We're like in the middle.
Many of the newcomers are single mothers because most Ukrainian men between 18 and 60 are banned from leaving the country in case they're needed to fight.
Today, I am pleased to announce that
the Manitoba government has created a new childcare pilot project.
The $1 million investment will support 68 fully subsidized childcare spaces for these newcomer families.
So she is a sleepy girl.
But that won't help Elena Horchak because Dauphin isn't getting any of those new daycare spots. Many Ukrainian newcomers say they're managing over the summer, but come fall, they'll be looking for stable, full-time work. And for that, they'll need stable, affordable childcare. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Dauphin, Manitoba.
And as Karen just mentioned, Manitoba is trying to make childcare more accessible to newcomers. The province will spend $1 million on a pilot project, which will immediately create 12 new childcare spaces. Within a year, the pilot will have 68 fully subsidized licensed childcare spaces open to all newcomer families in Winnipeg. Parents will be able to access reliable childcare through the Newcomer Employment Hub run by the Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce. This includes the newly arrived Ukrainians who've signed up for the Hub program. The Immigrant and Refugee Community Organization of Manitoba says the #1 barrier for newcomers to get a job when they arrive is finding reliable childcare.
And I truly believe this project is going to change lives. It's going to fast track our families' ability to enter the workforce, of course, and this in turn is going to enable them to settle well and become an active part of Canadian society.
Now, depending on how the pilot project goes, more childcare spaces may open up in the future. We have heard a lot over the years about Winnipeg's need for a new sewage treatment plant. Today, the province in Ottawa announced they'll put $39 million into building a regional wastewater treatment facility for Niverville, Taché, Hanover, and Ritschot. The Red Seine Rat, or RSR, wastewater cooperative will put in the lion's share of the funding, pegged at $70.2 million. Manitoba's official opposition says the Stephenson government is struggling to deal with cuts made by former Premier Brian Pallister to healthcare spending. NDP leader Wab Kinew says the former NDP government had a plan for Cancer Care's Mac Charles building. The new one was slated to be built to replace it. But that project was killed by former Premier Brian Pallister in 2016. Now, Kinew says the Stephenson government is scrambling to renovate and stabilize the aging building, and it's put out a request for proposals.
And now we see that this trend continues under Heather Stephenson, where after years of cuts and undermining the service of cancer care, now they're forced to scramble to try and deploy tens of millions of dollars to just repair the damage that they've caused to cancer care.
Kinew says the urgent and expensive renovations could have been avoided. The CBC has reached out to the government for response, but so far, nothing yet. The province says a wildfire along the northern Manitoba-Saskatchewan border could bring smoky conditions to the Flin Flon area for the next couple of days. The fire's an estimated 2,300 hectares. It's about 37 kilometers north of Flin Flon. The province says wind conditions over the next day or two could push that smoke into Manitoba, into Flin Flon. Meantime, crews are getting a handle on another big fire, a nearly 53,000 hectare one near Puckatawagan. The province says wet weather has helped crews battle that blaze. And speaking of wet weather,
it seems like, well, it doesn't seem like, it has been every day this week.
Yeah.
Dealing with thunderstorm warnings and watches. I see the downtown, the wipers are on. We're getting the rain downtown now. So, yeah, there's lots on radar to show you. Let's get right to it. We've got that, and scattered showers today with a risk of thunderstorms. I think it was good wording because we have thunderstorms to the west, and now in the Winnipeg area, we have more rain happening. And it's been raining a couple of hours in the south end, and then the west edge of the city seemed to get it, but downtown not so much, and now downtown is getting wet as well. Want to look at the watch that's in effect right now. We've got this area of the Inner Lake, Arborg up through Hecla, Grindstone, Fisher Branch, and then all of the southwest corner of the province in a severe thunderstorm watch. I showed you the picture of the funnel cloud, and we have no tornado watch or tornado warning or anything like that in effect right now. Right now, these storms are not severe enough to really post a warning, so not really supercell environment at the moment. It still could happen, but you can see the main threat here is lightning. We've seen some nickel-sized hail as well. We've seen some storms down around Emerson, and now the entire Red River Valley is kind of enveloped in rain right now from Winnipeg right down Highway 59 and Highway 75, really, down into the Emerson area. And then you look at this area here, and this is where we're seeing most of these pulse storms. They're kind of grouping together into clusters as well. So the west is seeing it now, Killarney and down through Boissevain and Deloraine areas. There's the Winnipeg area right now. Some lightning in the Winnipeg area just a moment ago. You can see it right about there. And then as we go a little farther to the east, a lot of this is remnants of the low that we had through here overnight. Kenora getting hit with storms at the moment. The blue shaded area here is a rainfall warning with up to 50 millimeters possible locally in that area. Right now in Winnipeg, we are at 19. North winds are at 13. And yes, it is raining. Dew points, that's the other thing this week. It has been very humid. Dew points anywhere from 18 to 20 every single day. Here's the good news. See that big blue H? Yeah, that's high pressure at the surface. It's going to clear the rain out overnight. And then as it starts to make a move into Manitoba, by later Friday, we're dealing with sunshine, not just in the north, but right across the south, northwestern Ontario. And more good news, this settles right over southern Manitoba as we get into Saturday afternoon. So this is a very clear sky, a light wind, and temperatures will rebound back into the mid to upper 20s as we work our way through the weekend. On Sunday morning, we'll start to see some rain along a frontal system in northern Manitoba, but the south that desperately needs a stretch of dry weather is going to get just that. 16 degrees tonight. A few sunny breaks in the morning, but mainly cloudy. And then I think even before lunchtime here in Winnipeg, we're at into sunny skies and afternoon temps up around 25. A bit breezy from the north. And then the numbers going forward and the conditions are, like I say, just what we need. Dry conditions up to 28 by Sunday, 26 by Monday, and that continues into Tuesday. I do have some rain in the longer range in the 7-day forecast. I'll show you that in a little while.
More airline passengers say they are being unfairly denied compensation over flight delays and cancellations. There are growing calls for Canada's transport regulator to get involved and get tough on the carriers. Sophia Harris has the details.
This rejection doesn't ring true.
Shaquille Batty says he can't make sense of WestJet's letter denying him compensation for his 3-hour flight delay in June. Under federal rules, airlines only have to pay compensation up to $1,000 if the flight disruption is within the airline's control. In an email, WestJet told Batty the delay was outside of its control, but didn't say why. The airline also said the delay happened after departure.
The delay was pre-departure, and I have all the evidence to show it was pre-departure. So I don't understand what they're trying to tell me.
I definitely don't feel that they're following the rules.
Leslie Lowe asked for compensation after her flight last month was delayed by a full day. Air Canada rejected her claim without providing any explanation.
I think they don't have a valid reason. And I think that if they were to really be honest and transparent as to what happened, that they know that they'd be liable and they'd have to compensate the passengers on the flight.
The Canadian Transportation Agency says airlines must provide a comprehensive explanation when denying compensation.
If they don't, that could either be the subject of its own complaint or potentially enforcement action.
The CTA has yet to issue any fines involving compensation claims. Some consumer advocates say it's time for the transport regulator to get tough with non-compliant airlines.
I think the airlines are aware that they're not really being held accountable and they can get away with it. You have to have enforcement, and you also have to have significant fines and penalties to make the airlines act.
The CTA says unhappy passengers can file a complaint and that tough penalties for non-compliant airlines may be coming.
We are indeed looking at all the enforcement options.
That report by the CBC's Sophia Harris. Canadian Transportation Agency officials say they have been inundated with complaints and that it will take time for the agency to get to all of them. A U.S. judge says he may allow the release of some of the evidence presented to justify last week's FBI raid on former President Donald Trump's Florida home.
Judge Reinhart gave us some clues to that today by telling us, for example, that at this juncture he is not inclined to keep the entirety of the search warrant application and its affidavit under seal, meaning that he understands that the public is going to likely be entitled to some parts of this warrant application and its affidavit.
The federal judge has ordered the Justice Department to file a redacted version under seal by next Thursday. Several news organizations have sought the release of the affidavit, citing public interest. But federal prosecutors oppose releasing it, saying it could harm their ongoing investigation. The Mar-a-Lago raid was part of a probe looking into whether Trump illegally removed classified documents after losing the presidency. Canadian pharmacies are struggling with a shortage of over-the-counter children's fever and pain medication. Some hospitals are recommending prescriptions to ensure patients get them just in case. But as Chris Reyes explains, experts also say, don't panic.
This is normally where we would keep our Tylenol suspensions.
At this Toronto pharmacy, Tylenol and Advil for kids are on back order. On Monday, the city's Hospital for Sick Children said prescriptions for pain and flu medications might be necessary because of a nationwide shortage.
The shortage is not new. We have seen some rolling shortages since about the beginning of the year. So we did see a situation where the demand for these products did start to outstrip the production.
Health Canada says no prescription is needed for the over-the-counter drugs. Pharmacist Marcos Massey agrees, but says one may be needed for the generic version pharmacists can make on site.
In an emergency situation, something like Tylenol or acetaminophen can be prescribed as a suspension, which can be made by pharmacists behind the counter.
Ontario's health minister says the province is also monitoring the situation.
We are obviously monitoring very closely to make sure that there aren't shortages that are going to impact in a wider way across Ontario.
At this pharmacy, cold and flu medications for adults are still available, and some doctors say that's an option.
If your child is a bit older, there are also ones you can crush that would be chewable medication or even medication used for adults, depending on the weight and the size of your child.
Tylenol suspension is not a super difficult medication to manufacture.
Massey's prediction that he'll be able to order the kids' medication in a couple of months. Until then, his advice to parents, stop stockpiling them. Chris Reyes, CBC News, Toronto.
A high-level meeting was held today in Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky hosted talks with his Turkish counterpart and the UN Secretary General. Among the key agenda issues, growing concerns about a potential disaster at Europe's biggest nuclear plant, the scene of fierce fighting in Ukraine for weeks now. Briar Stewart has more.
Around 24 ships carrying grain have left Ukrainian ports this month and traversed the Black Sea. The shipments were made possible by a grain deal negotiated with the help of the UN and Turkey, and officials say they want to reach another agreement to end fighting around the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant.
Common sense must prevail to avoid any actions that might endanger the physical integrity, safety or security of the nuclear plant.
Ukraine staged emergency drills nearby in case fighting leads to a radiation leak. The UN is pushing for a demilitarized zone around the plant, but Russia called that plan unacceptable. The implementation of these proposals will make the station even more vulnerable, this official said. Russia said inspectors with the International Energy Agency should be able to visit Zaporizhzhia in the coming days, a mission Ukraine and the UN is also pushing for. Well, Turkey signed an agreement to support the reconstruction of Ukraine. Erdogan said he believed the war could end through negotiation. Well, as Turkey, we made efforts to end the conflicts with the diplomatic solution. We also stood by our Ukrainian friends, and we continue to do so, he said. This was Erdogan's first visit to Ukraine since the invasion. In recent months, he's visited Russia and President Putin twice. This political analyst says Turkey has sway on both sides, but brokering a peace deal is likely a stretch.
Since both sides believe that they have a momentum, I don't think that Erdogan's channel diplomacy mission will be successful this time.
Zelensky said he doesn't see a diplomatic solution now because there's no trust.
We see each day guns and fighting from Russian side. That's why they have, first of all, go away from our territory.
He believes there can only be negotiations once Russian troops withdraw and head home. Briar Stewart, CBC News, London.
After the break, we'll learn more about the young Inuk athlete who won Nunavut's first gold medal at the Canada Games. And then John Sauter will bring us his Manitoba forecast. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. More now on a story we brought you a few days ago. A young Inuk athlete receiving a hero's welcome after he makes it home after making history. He's the first competitor from Nunavut to win a gold medal at the Canada Games. He shared his story of personal loss and how it played a part in his big win with the CBC's Juanita Taylor.
With his gold medal around his neck, Ikiluak Avalak is greeted first by his father, one of hundreds of people filling the Cambridge Bay Airport.
Oh, we're all so excited, just bubbling behind my head. I'm so glad that everybody's here to support the whole team.
Then a hero's parade around the Western Nunavut community where about 2,000 people live. The celebrations continued into the evening, including videos featuring the athletes and a recap of that gold medal match. The 18-year-old says being Nunavut's first ever gold medalist still feels like a dream.
It's definitely a lifetime memory that I'll always hold.
And he credits this man, his coach, who says Avalak's win was the most emotional he's ever been.
It's not only for him, but it's for all Inuit, it's for all of Nunavut, because it shows that, you can come from a small Indigenous community, Inuit community, and you can reach the top of the stage.
But there's another person special to Avalak who he says helped him win gold. His late brother Joannesy, who took his own life in 2015.
He was my big brother, yes. Just thinking that he was there. I didn't see him there, but I felt his presence there, and that gave me a big confidence booster in my gold medal match.
An emotional Avalak mentioned his brother in his victory speech right after his win, a heartfelt moment for their father.
And I'm so happy, I'm so proud of him. My family and my siblings, we all had
we all had tears about it, but those tears, for me, it's part of healing.
Wrestling itself was part of Avalak's healing.
Wrestling saved my life. It didn't just change me. I was just around a misguided crowd. Best I could say is it saved me from a life behind bars or even worse.
Now he's focused on his next goal.
The goal's the Olympics.
That's something people in Cambridge Bay say they can see in 2024. Ikilwag Avalak competing at the Summer Olympics in Paris. Juanita Taylor, CBC News, Cambridge Bay, Nunavut.
I hope he makes it. That would be so incredible.
It would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Now you're keeping an eye on the warnings. How are they?
Yeah, still a watch. No warnings have been issued, so
watch.
that's good. And the watch area has gotten a little bit smaller now. This is what we're looking at now. That if that watch was involved in the Interlake and onto the west side of Lake Manitoba, now it's just over around Dauphin and Brandon and down into areas like Boissevain and Melita, and you can see why here when we add to that watch area the lightning and the showers that are just moving generally from north to south in western Manitoba, and then we have this area of lighter rain around the Winnipeg area. Did get a report of some thunder and lightning and that sort of thing, and you can see that in the loop, that little patch of lightning there in the Winnipeg area. So storms are still in the mix as we head into the night tonight. And yeah, this is going to represent another several millimeters on top of what we had this morning. Temperatures are looking like this, 19 now at the airport. Downtown, we're still at 20. No higher than 22 in the region. Out to the west, where we're seeing the storms moving through, yes, it is a little bit cooler. We also have lots of rain around Kenora right now and some thunder and lightning. 18 degrees in the Kenora region. Up to the north, it has been warm this week. Churchill's having a cool day today, but it does warm up again tomorrow. But there's a look at the current numbers happening as we go into the evening across northern Manitoba. Wow, just look at all that thick cloud. So a few showers, thunderstorms, not just in the evening, but after midnight as well. And I think that after midnight, whether it's northwestern Ontario or southeastern Manitoba, we're going to see the thunderstorms come to an end, and it'll just be a few showers, and I think ending by morning. Overnight lows stay on the mild side. Normal would be right around 11, staying mild because of the cloud cover. And we just have a chance of a shower. Evening storm around Brandon, then overnight showers as well, and a low of 16. Across the north, some patchy fog around Flin Flon, around Thompson, also Gillam and Churchill. And there is a chance of a shower in the Paw, a chance of a shower or thunderstorm in Norway House. And then tomorrow, right back into the mid to upper 20s. Island Lake at 21. But once the fog clears, lots of sunshine in the west. We'll see some morning fog around Thompson and then clearing and sunny and 25 in Churchill, 25 as well in Norway House. Across the south, we'll see some sunshine in the west. Everyone else will see clearing in the morning, maybe a shower in the morning around the Sprague region up through the White Shell, but that's all of that cloud and rain that is continuing to move down to the south. So we'll see our clearing, I think, before lunchtime in Winnipeg and certainly in Gimli. And then in northwestern Ontario, you'll clear in the afternoon in Kenora, also in Red Lake. There's a chance of a morning shower, then just cloudy in Fort Francis. And still some showers with a risk of thunderstorms in Dryden with a high of 24 degrees.
Thanks, John.
You bet.
So you got plans for next weekend? How about the coming weekends? If not, stay tuned. We have great ideas for you from Travel Manitoba after the break. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. Big festivals and events returned to Manitoba this summer after taking a break or going virtual during the worst of the pandemic. Now, here we are, mid-August, and there are still great festivals to get out and enjoy. Colin Ferguson, the president and CEO of Travel Manitoba, joins us now. Hi, Colin.
Janet, it's great to be back with you. I missed you the last time you were on holidays, and it's fun to be back with you once again.
It is lovely to see you again, too. Let's begin with festivals that have already happened this year. What have you been hearing in terms of how they did?
Well, I give it to Manitoba on this one because they sure showed up, and they showed up in record numbers. So just to give you kind of a sense, Folk Festival recorded their second highest attendance numbers ever, some 74,000 people, which is remarkable. And Folklorama, which just wrapped up quite recently, they just announced record numbers this year of over 168,000 people who attended over the 2-week period. And they did that with less pavilions this year. So that number is even bigger than it sounds. So people are going back to festivals, they're getting out and they're enjoying festivals. And quite frankly, Manitoba is knee-deep in great festivals, and there's still quite a few of them to take in before the summer's over.
Well, give us a few of the ones you're thinking of. Which one should we get out and try?
Well, here's one I love the way they position themselves. 3 things you need to know about this festival. It's free, it's fun, and it's for everyone. It even rhymes. It's the Morton Corn and Apple Festival, and that's going to be August 26th to the 28th. It is Manitoba's largest street festival. There's entertainment on 3 outdoor stages, free hot buttered corn. And I was in Morton earlier this morning, and I can tell you that the crop looks absolutely amazing. Free apple juice, free youth event stage, lots of children's events in their children's event tent. There's even tours by bus of the city of Morton, the beach, the amazing golf course, Minnewasta, which is fantastic. There's a Wonder Shows midway. You can shop the Artisan Alley. There's some delicious multicultural foods. There is literally something for everyone and for every age and for every appetite. I've been there. I speak of this one knowingly. It's a terrific one.
Now, you've got a few others that are food related too. You've got me hungry just thinking about them. Tell us about those.
Well, this one's a lot of fun too. It's the Honey, Garlic, and Maple Syrup Festival in Manitou, Manitoba. That is September 9th and 10th. This is truly a taste of the Pembina Valley and all the hospitality that comes with it. It starts on the Friday at noon with live music and a barbecue lunch. How can you have a maple syrup festival and not have a pancake breakfast starting the next morning? And it's one of the better ones out there. There's also honey, garlic, and maple syrup vendors that are set up, as well as there's a craft show, farmers markets, free entertainment, lots of stuff for kids to do, and again, all free in their activity tents, including their Mighty Machines display. I don't know what that is, but I think kids will enjoy that. There's also an amazing car show. The Pembina Valley Saloon is open all day. Check out the food vendors, and I have been told, save a little room if you can for the gourmet buffet served that evening, which is highlighted by their famous garlic mashed potatoes. So try the Honey, Garlic, and Maple Syrup Festival in Manitou, Manitoba.
What about right here in Winnipeg?
Right here in Winnipeg, lots you can do still. Check out Manifest. That's September 9th to the 11th. Food Truck Wars, they take over the downtown Broadway at Memorial. And remember to vote for your favorite. Live music on 2 stages, carnival rides, family zone with all kinds of activities, local artisan market along Broadway. This one truly is fun for all ages and all times of day or night during September 9th through 11th. And then lastly, on September the 24th is Nuit Blanche. If you've not participated in this one, it's really a ton of fun. This one Saturday night, literally thousands gather in downtown Winnipeg to celebrate and explore contemporary art. All the events are free. Artists, performers, galleries, cultural organizations, and independent curators, they create and host their own events all around the city. It's a lot of fun. But if you're looking for more information on these events and maybe other festivals that are happening in the province, check out travelmanitoba.com/events, because it's all there, Janet.
I'm sure it is. Colin Ferguson, thanks so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Still ahead, John Sauter with your 7-day forecast, and then we'll send you off with a smile in your daily lift. You're watching CBC News.
I'm just standing here waiting and looking out the window, the big studio windows, at all the puddles on the streets, and we need a stretch of dry weather, and I've got just that for you. Some cloud around in the morning and then sunshine Friday afternoon, a high of 25. High pressure settles in. Look at the weekend, 26 and 28. I don't think we'll see much wind. I don't think we'll see much in the way of cloud cover. That continues Monday, Tuesday. There's a chance of a shower on Wednesday, but it doesn't look like it's anything like we had in the last week or so.
Good.
An Edmonton boutique, best known for its fun decor, is aflush with new bragging rights.
Yes, it is. Here is your daily lift. The owner of the shop, Majesty and Friends, shared on Instagram that she has won, the shop, Canada's Best Restroom, a contest for 2022 from a company called Cintas. The shop owner designed these facilities herself. Do you like that mural? Kind of looks like an ice cream cone, huh?
Yeah.
And notice the wall covering and even the can itself covered in sprinkles, looking rather sweet when you think it's just a seat. Yeah, lovely. Look, a banana split. Ode to the banana split. Think of the creative things that you could do in your loo to make people happy as they visit. There's even pink toilet tissue in this one, Johnny. Oh, a cherry. That's
as long as it's clean, right? Everything's good.
Number one, clean.
Number one,
Number
clean.
two, bright, creative, and delicious. No, that's the wrong word to use. Thanks for being with us.
Good night.
See you tomorrow.